Hello all, and welcome back to my channel. This is part 3 of my Inktober series. There might be one more in store. Let's just get on with it. This one I actually surprisingly did by myself. Well, that's because I wasn't satisfied with any other sitting reference I could find. So why am I even over-explaining? I don't need to justify it. The only reason I do that is because my brain constantly says, "Oh, you need to explain things so you feel less guilty." But that's never what happens. You explain things and people are gonna be like, "Oh, you're so much smarter than me," or "You're just lying to me." So people who you explain things to never want an actual explanation. They want to be right. That was a tangent. Sorry, I am losing my mind as we speak. There's also an essay due on the 29th, which will be really outdated by the time the series is over anyway. What was I talking about? Right. So yeah, that's why I'm losing my mind. There's no... Sorry. There hasn't been much since, I watched the Amazing Digital Circus's pilot the other day. It was pretty cool. It generally lives up to the hype. And it has been slowly infecting my brain like a leech. Which I'm not complaining about, I'm just saying it is stuck in my brain constantly. The theme has been in my head non-stop. Someone kill me, please. Or don't. Rabbit. For once in my life, I got to use my actual bookshelf brush that I always have, but never have the chance to use. Oh yeah, and I bet you're gonna see what the Hylian on. Yeah, that's what the Hylian on the shirt that Dracula definitely stole from Ganondorf says. It was a rough Hylian translation. I don't know what I'm doing. Every time I think I know what I'm gonna say during these videos, turns out I don't. Turns out I don't, and then I just end up rambling for however long this video ends up being. I also change the music every video. You'd think, that's common, right? That's what happens is I change, what copyright-free lo-fi video I yoink from every time. Oh yeah, this one was cute. Not proud that I took another pose entirely for it, but again, I don't need to justify it. I just see it as posing practice. Shit. I'm not very good with that stuff. Sorry. My bones hurt. As for why the sun isn't hurting Dracula, well, first of all, that concept was from the story of Nosferatu, and before that, the vampires were not weak to the sun. Plus, I never actually see evidence that the sun in Castlevania actually hurts vampires. Weakens them, probably, not outright hurt them, but I'd have to fact check myself on that. Because what I do for the logic of Castlevania vampires is that I take elements from both the games and the anime, but only take from the anime what aligns with what's confirmed in the games. Like what Death Battle does with stuff that isn't normally considered canon. like how they use the Mario sports games, but only if they align with the canon. This piece was also inspired by actual Castlevania lore, because if I remember correctly, Dracula's cape does have the ability to turn into wings. He just prefers to be a bat, which I imagine is much easier to control. I mean, this was also my first time drawing Ganondorf's actual main outfit. It is hell in a handbasket, but that's because I don't draw it that much, because it's complicated as hell, as all hell. I mean, I thought the same thing about Dracula, but I still managed to simplify it enough while still maintaining the general characterization. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I mean, other than that, it was kind of fun figuring, like, relearning, like, how bat wings sort of work or look. Like, you can see that Dracula's wings even have little thumbs on them, like actual bats do. In hindsight, or at least in retrospect, I should have added more fingers to it and made the wings wider. But that's just me learning from my own mistakes. But yeah, you can see, like, how hellish it can be drawing Ganondorf's Ocarina of Time design for the first time. Especially in a mostly simplified art style. That's actually why I prefer putting Ganondorf in like, quote-unquote modern-looking clothes. Not only because it's a reference to a Breath of the Wild manga, to some form of Zelda manga where we see Ganondorf at one point wearing a Metallica shirt, but also because it's just easier. It's the same reason around this time you start seeing me put Dracula in regular, like, modern, in air quotes, style clothing, because after the sequels, after the therapy comic, we see that Dracula does get, like, a clothing overhaul, but that's from like Alucard and Soma Cruz dragging him to, like, Hot Topic or some shit, because yes, I do imagine they would drag him to Hot Topic first. For shits and giggles, I guess. And then give him, like, modern clothing that he can use. This one was also fun. Especially realizing that, wait, I don't know if Dracula would even know what Pocky is. Because his canon death was 1999, and I don't know when Pocky was first introduced, or became mainstream for that matter. So naturally, I decided to have Dracula be very confused. This was also the first instance of me actually giving Dracula some semi-modern clothing. Still goth style clothing, or at least punk style clothing to, like, sort of mesh the concepts together. But they're still there. But that's because up until that point, I was just drawing the same outfit over and over again and wanted something different. But also, like, half of Dracula's other designs look terrible. There's, like, the Castlevania 64 design I did for one of the earlier prompts, and his outfit in Lament of Innocence, aside from his more common Symphony of the Night design. So with everything else being, just look at Dracula from Hotel Transylvania, that's him. But don't get me started on his Oscar Proud looking ass design in Captain and the Game Masters, because that's what he looks like. He looks like Oscar Proud, but if he didn't get enough sun. Alucard got the Dippy Fresh treatment, on the other hand. I'm getting off topic again. I decided to inspire Gandorf's shirt design on low rule this time. For no other reason than, well, because. Not everything has like this deep explanation. Sometimes I just think it's neat. I just think it's neat. And I am pretty happy with how everything turned out. You'll see there's an explanation for the curtain in the background. You'll see. It just hasn't been revealed like in comic yet, but there is a plan for it. Those who have seen the Castlevania anime know exactly what I'm talking about. I also specifically looked at different flavors of Pocky and decided that the one based on an alcohol would be the best one, even though I did briefly consider like this yam flavor, but solely because they grow in like the desert parts of Japan, and I thought that would be appropriate for where Gandorf grew up, but then I realized that's a bit on the nose. Anyway. This one was fun. I mean, I wasn't very original with the posing, but I'm not good at... I'm trying my best. And I still like how it came out. Also, I'm telling you now, like, I'm imagining Ganondorf is a bottom. Like, the most out of context thing about the comic, it's that. Probably the most out of pocket thing I've ever saw in a video, too. And I say a lot of weird things in my YouTube career. Well, career, it's more of a hobby. You get the point. This was also the point where I was getting a bit lazier, where I was starting to get a little lazier with my colorizing, where I stopped trying to do anything fancy, just do what I felt was easier. Where I place Dracula's fangs are inconsistent depending on what face view I'm getting. I'm not very good at it, because like here we see, both here and the last one we see that Dracula's fangs are like at his canines, right? But like they're more towards the front of his mouth. But sometimes they're farther, but with how I draw teeth, they can also be farther back, even though I realistically should be having one set of like regular sharp teeth being like further back, like normal, and then having his vampire teeth be closer to the front. That's what I should be doing. I keep thinking, yeah, I should maybe do that, and then I forget. Anyway, the boba thing. It's not that I don't mind it. I just thought it'd be funny to have like this character who canonically died in '99 to have no idea what it was and be very confused by it. That was the only thought. That was the only part of my thought process. I don't even really like boba all that much anymore, but that's because the place I used to work was a boba shop, and it was a terrible job. If you value your sanity, do not work at a boba shop. Oh yeah, his tea is like an orange Thai tea. Alright, I'll admit, yes, I have watched the Vampire series. It's a good series. I like it. And it definitely inspired like how I draw Dracula's bat form. And that's why I draw Ganondorf as a bat. Well, if you're a Zelda fan, you probably already know that A Link to the Past exists. And that's where that's generally where I got the idea to turn him into a bat came from. I even linked the colors straight from the sprite, and like I'm remembering now that Gandorf, again as a bat, was really fucking huge. Like, he was so big that he made a giant ass hole in the ceiling where we fight the final boss, I think. And I know this because I have a project for YouTube coming up where I basically record all of Ganondorf's crimes. Which means I have watched so much Zelda gameplay. It's not even funny. There's nothing I can really say about this one. It's that. Just a cute little drawing. God, I'm cringe. This should be the last one. At the time of posting, this is the most recent one. And it was gonna be like relationship dynamics. And I realized that I wasn't happy with it. But yeah, truth be told, Dracula is the more deadly of the two. You wouldn't be able to tell by just looking at them, but legitimately, like, what fuels Ganondorf's power versus Dracula, they are vastly different in power. The Triforce of Power is like comparable to like a planet, if I remember correctly, and then there's the Crimson Stone and the Chaotic Realm being an entire alternative universe, fueling this one person. Yep. So ultimately I decided to just play with the idea of, right, vampires can walk on walls and ceilings, right? And so I did that. You can see that, yeah, this is where I started to get a little lazier with my coloring and shading, with my coloring. Sorry. And that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Check the description for my Redbubble. Yada yada yada. See ya.